What is going on, everybody? Welcome into The Highlight. It's a very serious business podcast for obviously very more serious business people. Today, got my co-host with me again, Austin Lynch. Austin, how you doing, man?
I'm great. I'm feeling refreshed, Chandler, because I've got a nice bottle of water here with me.
Oh my God. All right. Well, you've buried the lead so well. You were rambling, as you may have been known to do once or twice.
Yeah.
You were rambling to me before we started the show about room temperature water and cold water or
Yeah.
something like that. So please, let's just get started today. Talk to me about water.
Yeah. Well, I'm a water drinker. I'm not a fake water drinker. I'm a real water drinker. I always have one with me. Pure Life. It's a cheap brand. You get like 24 of these for $2. So Pure Life, free shout out. So here's what I've
No free
learned.
ads.
No free ads, free ad, Pure Life. What I've learned as a water drinker is that there's a huge difference between having your water ice cold and having your water room temp. And I think that there is a divide amongst those of us that actually drink water and those of us that don't really drink it all day. And I think that these people over here are ice cold drinkers. I think that daily, all day, consistent water people, we like our water to be room temp ideally. And yeah, what do you think? How do you like your water?
I cannot be more clear that I just don't care.
See, the weird thing is my refrigerator has a great water filter. And as you can see, my bottle's a little frosty. And so it is colder than usual. But I don't like it that way. I really do like it to be a more room temp, you know, goes in the way it should.
I don't care. I think what matters most is, am I hydrated? Like that's where I
You
draw the
should be
line.
hydrated.
Did I get enough to
Hydration's
drink?
important.
And that's pretty much it.
Hmm.
I'm from South Georgia. It's hot, and so we drink ice stuff all the time. But I've drank many a plastic water bottle, straight room temp. So
Yeah.
I swing both ways when it comes to this. Very non-committal.
Yeah. Well, as long as you're hydrated, Chandler, that's what matters the most.
Well, now we're in the show. We've killed all three of our listeners, and now we're just you and I talking to each other like it's normal. So there's nothing left here for us. We're good to go for the next segment.
Perfect.
Awesome. Yeah. Now speaking of non-committal things, I got something that was sort of grinding my gears, as the great Peter
Mm.
Griffin has said many a time, and that's the person. Let me back up. People find out that, I used to own a barbecue restaurant, and they find out that you and I own a marketing company together now. Entrepreneurship is the American dream. It is like, I don't know, it is the thing. That's why there's shows like The Profit. That's why there's shows like Shark Tank. That's why there's so many business podcasts out there about how to start a business and do the business and da 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 da. It's because we all have that DNA in us a little bit where we're like, hey, I could be a dreamer. It's sort of like people back in the day in America when they were like, I'm going to go west and chase my own fortune. It's like this generation's
Yeah.
like chasing gold mines. You know what I mean? And
Yeah, we've all seen the
I,
Shark
I,
Tank. We've all grown up watching Mark Cuban do his thing for the last 15 years. Yeah, I'm with you.
mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly. And what what I wanted to bring to the table today is, what do you think is the difference between somebody that is a wantrepreneur, the person that's a dreamer, and then the person that's actually jumps in the ring and becomes an entrepreneur? Like, let's just start there, and then I got some stories, but kick it to you
Yeah.
first.
Yeah, I would say one of the biggest differences between the entrepreneur and the wantrepreneur is the ability to, at least at the very front end of the project, the ability to set aside all the minute details that are seemingly important that in the moment isn't the first thing. Like, you got to keep the first things first. And I think it's the ability to set aside the minute details, like things like having your website completely polished before trying to make your first sale, or making sure that your um, all your branding is perfect and your logos are exactly where you need them to be, whatever. I think the biggest difference is just being able to go out and go after that first sale immediately and start doing what it is that you're talking about. Because until you do that, you're just a talker, you're not a doer. And so
Mhm.
I think that's the biggest difference is you have to go out and start something truthfully. You have to start working with someone else. You can't just work with yourself on this little thing because at that point it's like a school project. It's not like an
Mhm.
actual living, breathing business. So make a sale, go out, set aside the details for a later time, and then once you've got things churning, go back to those things that you felt important.
Yeah, what is that? The minimal viable product for all things? Like, what do you need today to get moving to get to the next step and then go
Yeah,
back, reset, refresh, and push the envelope forward for that area of the business. This is your
totally
second
agree.
business. High Beam is your second business as well.
Yeah.
But you were in college. Like, how did you what was your
Yeah.
t-shirt company like? Tell people about that story.
Yeah, well, interestingly enough, I was a marketing major in college and I loved the idea of entrepreneurship. Like you said, it's the American dream for today's age. And so all of my marketing electives, I took entrepreneurship classes. Ironically, I didn't even take a digital marketing class. I should have, but I took entrepreneurship instead. And as I neared graduation, I had this professor who was also the dean of the entrepreneurship department reach out and say, "Hey, like it's clear that you really love this. You should just add this as a second major." And so after a lot of contemplating, I did. And there was basically this project at the end of the year. It was sort of a thesis type project where you have to put together a full business start to finish. And it was a lot of projections, business plan type stuff, but I wanted to go a step further and actually try and launch something because I thought that would be a much better way to end my kind of schooling and a better way to show out in this thesis project. Like, look at this functioning thing I've built, right? And so we built a little fun t-shirt business around kind of poking fun at the election, I guess back in 2016, and we launched the business like 3 months before the election ended, and it was a good time. I learned a ton, but quite frankly, we did a lot of these minute details I was talking about earlier. We did a ton of those up front before we started aggressively going after people. I mean, I should have been, walking around on campus selling to individuals instead of, going into WordPress and making sure that every product was exactly perfect and making sure our
Mhm.
shipping system was perfect from day one. I could have just gone to the local t-shirt printing shop in Chattanooga and had these printed and gone around and handed them to people on campus. And so that's kind of what we're talking about in a weird way. I think halfway through the business existence, we were really more on the entrepreneur side until we really started to make sales,
Mm.
which largely happened because we stumbled into a decent digital marketing strategy, which we talk about all the time. But yeah, it was an interesting road, and I think the biggest learning I got out of that was you just have to hit the ground running and start selling, and worry about the details later. Because I think had we done that earlier in the company's existence, it would have been a much bigger thing. But ultimately, it was kind of a stepping stone in the right direction.
Hit the ground selling and then worry about the
Yes,
details later is
amen.
really perfect. That is like the best sentence for
Yeah,
anybody that's dreaming about becoming an entrepreneur because the difference in 0 and $1 in revenue is the distance of the Grand Canyon. Your first dollar is your hardest dollar to get, whether it's your
yeah,
first business or 10th business. Um, I will say the only difference between my experience starting the second business, and maybe you feel the same way, versus the first business was that with this second business, I knew the value of revenue in the door and getting cash flow started and getting the thing rolling. That all I
yeah,
did from day one was we need one client paying us for some digital
yeah,
marketing service. We will upgrade and get smarter and all the things down the road. But
yeah,
I knew the value of dollars in, and you quickly were like, yeah, we definitely need to do that. And that's how we started this company
yeah,
was it's all been customer funded from day one. I mean, it was like really hobo status. Like we designed a really terrible logo in Canva, and then we had a like business Venmo account set up, and our first client paid us through Venmo. I mean, bless her heart, she's still a client, but
yeah,
she must have thought we were real janky. To be like,
Yeah,
you're
we
gonna
then
want me to
took
do
that
what for
money.
what?
Yeah, I think we took that money, used it to legitimize our business with the state and open a
Mm,
bank. Like, and
yeah,
then like I literally think that that first Venmo payment like actually kickstarted the business.
that was it. Yeah, that was
Cuz
we got the Venmo money in, and then we were able to get a bank account set up and all the things, and then I
yeah.
think we may have like the story is better that we've completely funded this through sales, but I think we split like $250 and then paid it back out pretty immediately within like 2
Yeah.
weeks of starting just to like
Yeah,
get
true.
a bank going or something. But the point
Yeah.
is that you focused on sales first. I had this guy so back when I was running the barbecue restaurant, I call him the sandwich guy. This is the sandwich guy story, which you've probably heard me tell on a
I
sales
think I
pitch
have
because
heard
I've
the
got
sandwich
like
guy story.
4 stories and I just hammer them all the time. Sandwich guy comes into my house. He's installing cable, and I've got a barbecue sweatshirt on, and I'm just hanging out, watching him do his thing. And then he looks up and he goes, "Lyles Barbecue, is that the place downtown?" And I'm like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Do you work there?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm one of the owners, family business, da da da." And he goes, "Oh man, that's so cool. I love food. I've always been really passionate about sandwiches. Like sandwiches are my thing. Like." And I was like, "Oh yeah, like Subway sandwiches? Like what sandwich?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Nah, man, don't bring Subway sandwiches in here." He's like, My dream is like my dream. Notice the words here. My dream is like you know homemade bread and like freshest deli meat and then like a flat top for grilling and da 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 da." And like he's laying out a full business plan for a sandwich shop. I mean, I don't know. I felt like I was on an episode of Shark Tank. I was getting pitched a sandwich shop like JJ's Sandwich Shop, and I was going to have to throw some money in at some point because it sounded good and these sandwiches sounded awesome. And the way he described the whole plan, I was like, this man is so passionate and has spent a ton of time thinking about this sandwich shop. And so my question
Yeah.
to him was, man, that's awesome. How many sandwiches have you sold?
Yeah.
And what do you think his answer was? Like, he's a dreamer. He's probably, how many, sandwiches do you think he'd sold?
I mean, I don't know. I guess I would hope to hear that he had sold to maybe a dozen people at least.
Yeah, you would think he would say something like, "Oh yeah, my church, I did a catering
Yeah.
thing," or
Right.
like for my buddy's
Have a handful of customers.
backyard party. Yeah, like I've done some things for friends. I've
Yeah.
at least sold the easiest people on the planet, my
To my
friend
network.
network. And he said no, he had sold absolutely 0 sandwiches. And I was like, how can you dream so passionately about something, talk so easily about this business plan? He didn't make this business plan up on the spot, installing
Yeah.
cable in my living room. Like he had given this some thought at night
Yeah.
while he was watching cable. And I was just shocked that he had said he sold 0 sandwiches. And like I pretty much laid into him. I was like, you are the
You got to
definition of
go
a
sell sandwiches.
wantrepreneur. I'm like, you need to go out right now. Don't worry about making money. Don't worry about the sandwich being profitable. Don't talk to me about how
Yeah.
does it scale. Don't talk to me about a system. Don't talk to me about how do we make it efficient. Like, I don't want to hear any of that. I don't care. I want to hear that you made a sandwich, you did the process, you wrapped
You
it in
bake the
foil, and
bread.
then you gave it to
Yep.
somebody and they gave you money back. And then like through that process, you're going to learn so much just doing one sandwich. First thing
Oh yeah.
being, do I actually want to be in this business? Like, is it actually something I'm
Yeah.
enjoying doing, or is the dream of it just more fun? All the way to like, okay, now that I've done this once, I see where the actual holes are versus the theoretical holes that I see when I'm sitting on the couch.
Yeah.
And you're going to be able to run it through. And I told him, I said, if you can, I'm like, here's my cell phone number. If you sell one sandwich for like $10, I'll buy the next sandwich for 20 just to like support your dream and like pray you're
Nice.
off to the races. And,
Yeah.
a week later, he texts me and he says, "Hey, I sold my first sandwich. Are you in for one?" And I was like, "Yeah, man, bring me whatever you think your best sandwich is right now, and I'll give you $20." And he did, and he brought me the sandwich. And like, I don't really remember if it was good or bad. That's not really the point. Even though
Yeah.
I could probably do a whole nother episode on consistency and how selling more. I never heard from the guy again. That's
Yeah.
the spoiler alert here, is that he had external motivation to get that first sell and then never heard from him again. Didn't
Yep.
hear of any JJ sandwich shop opening in Lexington, Kentucky. So if you guys see that, let me know. But I haven't seen it.
Yeah.
And I don't think he's in business today. and he's still probably just a entrepreneur. Or what I'm hoping happened is that he realized I don't actually want to own a business, because not everybody has to own a business. I think that's another thing that's come
Yeah,
up a
that's
lot
true.
lately is like all of a sudden people are like, you're a bad person if you don't want to be self-employed or have a side hustle or have some passive income or whatever. Like,
Right.
it's insane.
It's not for everybody.
No, no, absolutely not. And I got honestly, I got lucky. I got very lucky that I didn't get stuck in the trap you did, where it was like, oh, we're going to do all this fun stuff and sort of figure out
Yep.
all the
Yeah,
easy
you did it right.
dopamine driven things with the barbecue restaurant. But I didn't do it right. I just got lucky. I did it wrong. My wife and I got into a fight about how much money I was spending on my backyard hobby. And then I basically, in that discussion, told her that I could sell enough to break even and she couldn't give me a hard time. And then I went to my office and that's exactly what I did. Um,
Of
and then
course.
from there was just every week I'd go out and call more people and see if they wanted to buy some ribs. And then by the time that year was over, I was in the Air Force at the time. I was taking vacation time to sell like 30 racks of ribs at a time. And it was just like
That's
always
awesome.
about the next right move. My first company logo, which we'll put up on the YouTube channel, was designed in PowerPoint. You know,
Yes.
our first company
Those are the
name,
best.
yeah. Oh, it was, it was, you tell Taylor is Austin's wife, who's like a really good designer, did our logo, does a lot of stuff for us. And if I told her that I designed my first logo in PowerPoint, I think she'd literally disown me. I don't think she'd talk to
I'll
me
tell
anymore.
her.
Canva was bad enough.
We need to see it.
I'm gonna throw it up. But it was the best thing to like get loaded, build our first Facebook page back in 2013, 2012, whenever that was, and it just got the ball rolling. And then eventually we
Yeah.
paid $50 for a logo, and then we did a thing and did another thing, and it just, trying to go all the way to the end of the race from day one is just, you're never going to start. Like, the best first goal for anybody out there that wants to be an entrepreneur is to just sell one thing for $1.
Yeah. I mean, it starts you off, it gets you going, and it builds some momentum, right? We talk about that all the time. It's so important for your business to be experiencing small wins along the way because they build and it gives you
Hmm.
and your team energy to go after the next one and the next one and the next one. And, you know, if this opportunity is $1 and the next opportunity is $1, the opportunity after that might be $1,000. It's
Hmm.
just you have to have that energy from all the different wins to get to the right door and keep going. It's really consistency and it's favoring action over perfection.
I like that. That's good. Action over perfection. What my question is, and I'd love to know what you think about it now. What what role does ego or vanity, like whatever that word I'm searching for there is, like what role do you think that plays in people's inability to get their businesses launched?
When I think about where the ego plays into whether someone takes the jump into kind of entrepreneurship land and out of entrepreneurship land, I feel like a lot of what's keeping people from doing so is a fear of failure or a fear of what other people might think of them or perceive of their idea. It's easy to in your head dream up these amazing business ideas, but it's another thing to go out and do it and start selling and putting your face and your name behind it. Obviously a lot about that. Lyle's Barbecue, your name was in the name of the company. So like I think a lot of people are probably concerned about any sort of negative connotations that could follow them, or at
Mhm.
least that's how they might justify not taking the leap. It's more of a preservation of ego, more so than something else. And I think that when you can put that aside and just say, I'm in this for the reasons I know I'm interested in doing this for, like,
Mhm.
I think that's when you just have to make the first step and decide that the other opinions out there or the concerns of failure, I think you just have to put those aside and realize they're not relevant.
Yeah, and as somebody that has literally crashed their business and then ended up on the front page of the local paper and then started getting stopped in grocery stores asking, why did your business close? Why'd you guys close? Um, as mortifying as that is to think about while you're in the day-to-day grind of trying to build your business, coming out the other side of it, it's not that bad. It wasn't fun. I don't recommend it. I'm definitely not going to do it again. But it was worth the effort. You know, it was worth it to figure
Yeah.
out if it was a, it was a, how do I want to say this? It's an adventure worth going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a Disney movie. Not every adventure is going to have a storybook ending where it ends necessarily the way you think it is. But
Yeah.
out of that adventure, I ended up taking another job down here in Nashville with Ramsey Solutions, met you, learned a ton about marketing from like 200 marketers at a massive company for 2 years, spent
Yeah.
millions of dollars. I mean, really took our marketing education to the next level. And then we've been able to come together now and launch this next company. And so, you know, high beam marketing is just the next step for us in our pursuit
Yeah.
of our entrepreneurship dreams. You know, that's the thing, is that had we never taken that first step, you know, had you never taken that first step with the t-shirt company, gotten in and figured out digital marketing was a thing, you probably wouldn't have gone down the path of digital marketing. You know, had I not started the
Yeah.
barbecue restaurant, I definitely wouldn't be down here working and doing what I'm doing now. So there's a this is probably a whole nother podcast. I don't want to like get too started, but there you have a sort of fuzzy vision for your life and what you want it to be. And then just ask yourself, what is my like next thing I need to do to get closer to that? And if you just keep doing that
Yeah.
over and over and over again, eventually it builds up. I know, and I will tell you this. So we started our company in September of 21. It's now July of 22. So we're almost at a year anniversary. Happy anniversary, by the way.
It's crazy.
And it is crazy. And I think back to then, and we had one client paying us $500 a month, which was nothing. And, you know, looking ahead, you're like, we know we need more clients, but we don't know how. And now we have significantly more clients. We have way more help than we did back then. We've already made so many steps. And I think
Yeah.
you have to be okay with, like, A, you have to learn how to put your ego aside. You cannot tie your self worth to the status of your business. It just doesn't help.
Yeah.
You know, a lot of my self-worth was tied into my
Totally
barbecue
agree.
restaurant. And then when it closed publicly and all that crap was stripped away from me publicly, I very much started becoming like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm me, myself. I'm not actually, my worth isn't tied up in this business. If you're an entrepreneur right now and you have some business dreams, ask yourself, do you want to live the adventure of trying to be an entrepreneur? You can always stop. You can always go backwards, and it's never going to hurt you. You know, as long as you don't take too big a financial risk because you want to chase
Yeah.
dopamine or something like that, and you just want to get a HELOC against your house and open a $300,000 restaurant because you're gonna make it. It's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Um, yeah, take the first step. Sell something for $1. That's my final thought on that. What do you think?
Yeah, I totally agree. I think it's important to make the step. Like we were saying earlier, what did we say? We said hit the ground selling. And then we also
Yeah,
said action over perfection. I think those
yeah,
two things right there pretty much sum up everything we've been trying to talk about. You just have to go out and do it and not worry about everything being perfect, everything looking
yeah.
perfect, because it's just not going to. And like you
hmm
can do things without it. So, yeah,
The
well
last
said.
thing I would add is, and I thought of this as you were saying that, you don't need to take a risk that you cannot survive. So you
Yeah,
take
true.
incremental risk, but if it doesn't work out, it can't capsize. It can't take you out of the game. If you take a risk that takes you out of the game, you're taking way too much of a risk. I don't care how good the opportunity is. So do
Yeah,
what Austin said, hit the
agreed.
ground selling, be action oriented over perfectionism, and then bring in the hedge of like, how much risk am I taking right now? Does this take me out of the game if this doesn't work
Yeah.
out? Because guess what? That early in the process, you don't know if it's going to work out. And so you need to be able to afford for it not to work out. How many things in 10 months of running this business have already not worked out for us? A lot.
They're a handful for sure.
It's another story for another time. All right. Well, I'll wrap it up here. The episode today, we talked about it a little bit. It's brought to you by High Beam Marketing. If you're a small business owner, you know, and you're ready to start investing in your marketing, go to highbeammarketing.com and give us a call. And as always, we get out of here on an Austinism. And today, I don't know, are you bringing more truth bombs from Grandpa, or are you going to give us something actually like we can use? You know,
I'm
and
gonna
while you're
give you
thinking of
something
this, I
usable
will
today.
tell you, and while you're thinking of this, I'll tell you that Austin made me put fun as a core value in the company, and I'm way too serious. I don't do fun. And so I don't ever know what I'm going to get from Austin here at the end. So go for it.
Yeah. Well, this time, Chandler, you'll be glad to know that it's not as much fun. Today we're bringing you something practical, something useful, and something that could save your business a lot of heartache 12, 24 months down the road. So, what you need to know now if you're a business owner is simply this: Google Analytics. I hope you're using it today. It's going to capture all of your business's information about your website. It's called Universal Analytics within Google Analytics. Here's the thing that you need to know: July of next year, so about a year down the line, Google Analytics is getting rid of Universal Analytics forever. That's going to be a problem for you if you're not prepared with their new product, which is called GA4. Basically, it's a similar setup, but you have to configure it before July of next year, or you run the risk of your business losing all of its analytics data after that close off date. So if you're doing Universal Analytics now through GA, amazing, good on you. You should be. You probably have a lot more information about your business because of it. Do the next step of setting up GA4 before July of next year so that you can continue to get this data and not have that break. And obviously, as always, if you need help doing that, just reach out to us through highbeammarketing.com and we'd be happy to help you. That's the tip.
That
Boom.
that is music to my ears. No tomfoolery, no messing around.
Boom.
Value, no fun. We're a no fun zone. That's what I want to be. I want to build a no fun empire. That's where I'm at. That's my half of the yin and yang circle here.
Oh, man. Sounds like
All
such
right.
a good time.
I think it sounds wonderful. We really appreciate you guys listening. All jokes aside, this really means the world to us. We do this for fun, and the feedback we've been getting has been awesome. So thanks for listening. We'll see you next week.
Peace.